I think personal freedom is really to have the ability to be anywhere in the world and be so comfortable and neutral in my body and experience life fully with my heart open is personal freedom. Like, I think, there's so much of what happens in our minds that we get caught up in the stories, and just being able to build awareness around when that's happening, when the mind isn't being helpful, and to be able to be in my body and regulate my nervous system through different ways, and that really, that's personal freedom to me. So.
Welcome to the Personal Freedom Podcast. This is your captain speaking, Dohm. Somewhere between a midnight drive, a wrong turn, and a life-changing realization, you found yourself here. Because sooner or later, something breaks open. A relationship ends, a career no longer fits, a dream starts slipping away. Or maybe you just wake up one day realizing you've been drifting through a life that no longer feels like your own. And that is the crossroads moment. The moment where you can stay asleep at the wheel, or you can turn towards freedom. This podcast is for the rebuilders, the wanderers, the creators, the people trying to find their way again. For some, maybe this podcast isn't about escaping the path you're on. Maybe it's about remembering why you started walking it in the first place. A reminder to stay grounded, to stay awake, to stay free. So roll the windows down, turn the dial up, and let's ride. This is the Personal Freedom Podcast.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Personal Freedom Podcast. I have a special guest today, Josh Woll. He is the Sober Creative on Substack. And he's got a great story to tell today about his personal freedom journey. And just want to introduce him. We met on Substack. Substack's a great place, I think, just for creatives, people to meet and collaborate. And I've been wanting to get Josh on for a bit, so I'm really happy to have you on, Josh. How are you doing today, sir?
Mac, I'm good, brother. It's awesome to be here with you. Yeah, man.
So, Josh, before we kind of dive in, maybe into the background of your story, just tell us a little bit about what you do right now. For your business, how you're helping people.
Yeah. So for the past 20 plus years, my background has been in like filmmaking and documentary camera work and such. And so that has worked on a lot of documentary films, corporate projects, commercials, I mean, you name it, music videos. And so a year ago, I wanted to, they even started even before that. I wanted to do something a bit more outside of video work. And I have gone through a lot of personal transformation in a lot of different ways. And so life coaching kind of felt like the next steps based off of the different coaches and such that I've worked with. And so just really enjoyed that process and wanted to give that back to others. And so, fast forward, I started a business on Substack that was around helping people create their own video business. And so did that for a few months, but didn't feel like the traction and the connection was really going where it needed to be or where it felt right. And so in working with my business coaches, they started asking me questions around different subjects and topics, and they asked it around like sobriety, and that question prompted a lot of energy from me, and had responded in a very lengthy message back, and they were like, well, that's it. And so the Sober Creative was born from that conversation. And so I've been on Substack for about a year. And so I do sobriety coaching. I help people specifically around like alcohol use, because that's my story. and sobriety and substance use can take many shapes and forms of addiction, and so um, but yeah, my primary focus is helping those that want to have a different relationship with alcohol. And the past year has been incredible building on Substack, and I've done a few resets that are similar to like the dry January
Mm.
experiences, developed my own, and have had really incredible responses and feedback from people who have done that. And so it just the merging of creativity in my background with sobriety is kind of what is taking shape. And so there's creativity from an artistic standpoint, but then there's also creativity around like how can I create a life that I don't want to escape from.
Mm.
And so that's really kind of the focus of how I want to build this business. And so we currently have a community, the Sober Creative Collective, and so we meet bi-weekly, and that community is centered around people who have actively chosen to live this lifestyle around sobriety. And there's going to be slip ups, and so that's what this community is about. Is like how do we come together to support each other through feeling all the feels, man. I mean, it's like you don't have any way to escape now, and so it's life is going to present its challenges no matter what. And so it's like how does this community grow in a way that's supportive of each other, and just having a safe space to come to and be able to talk about things that we typically wouldn't talk about, and be able to share. And that's like through having a space like that is really allows each person to kind of grow into the life that they want to build. And so I'm loving it. I there's other things that I want to do, with the business as it continues to grow. But yeah, it's really awesome being here and doing it so far.
And I know that you've posted on Substack before. You have is it mainly in person or is it both virtual and in person? Because I know you've met with some people in person before, right?
Yeah, but like it's virtual. I mean, I would definitely love down the road to have some type of retreat. But
Oh yeah.
it in person has been, yeah, just various members in the business community that I'm a part of and such. And so yeah, I hope that because everybody, yeah, in the collective is in different states and such. And so yeah.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the internet, right? For all the flaws that we all talk about, right? That is a cool thing, is where you can just be in a different state, different time
100%.
zones, and be able to share vulnerable parts of your life, for the better of the community. That's great. So that's where you're
Yeah.
at now. We'll take a rewind in a bit, but
Yeah.
before we get there, so asking you the question, right? So what if you could define personal freedom in your life, how would you define it?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question. And yeah, one I was just thinking about when you asked me, I think personal freedom is really to have the ability to be anywhere in the world and be so comfortable and neutral in my body,
Hmm.
and experience life fully with my heart open is personal freedom. Like I think there's so much of what happens in our minds that we get caught up in the stories, and just being able to build awareness around when that's happening, when the mind isn't being helpful, and to be able to be in my body and regulate my nervous system through different ways. And just yeah, yeah, that really that's personal freedom to me. So
And if you guys can't tell by just the conversation so far, you sound so calm. You sound very well regulated.
You know, I laugh
You're one of
so
the
much.
calmest people I've talked to.
Dude, I get that so much, and I appreciate that, you know, and it's I think it's a strength that I definitely own, and you know, I do, you know, having a meditation practice of over 10 years, and I think just, you know, a number of different things that, you know, I've done to, you know, kind of create this sense of calm and energy and such. And I think it really helps with, I mean, not only like the community, but then also, you know, my podcast and the guests that come on. Um, it's difficult, the subjects that we talk about, and so being able to have this ability to reflect a calm, you know, safe presence, you know, in the midst of these difficult conversations, I think is really important. And I'm grateful that, you know, I do that for others. So yeah, yeah, definitely.
That's great. No, I mean, just the sense of calm. I think that's what I got out of your definition too, is just, feeling at peace no matter what situation you're in. Or
Yeah,
so I think that's the thing with sobriety that we'll probably dive into. But, oftentimes it can, that substance or whatever it can be, it's like that escape that's just there, but it takes you out of the moment, right? It takes you out of
yeah,
yourself. And just to have that sense of yourself and that sense of calm with a clear mind,
mm,
that's really important. Really.
yeah, 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 totally, man. I mean, it's like life's gonna throw us curveballs, you know, all the time. Like it's we think we've got this beautiful, safe, comfy rug that we're standing on, you know, and then all of a sudden it's just pulled right out from beneath us, and we're kind of floating in, like, what do we do? What's the next step? How do I take the next step? And so yeah, it's I think being able to be in those moments when life is going to create those complications, you know, for you, and be able to be like, hey, this is okay, I can get through this. And when you do, it's the resiliency is built up, and yeah, yeah, it's a really good thing. So
So you're in this state of mind now. Obviously, that wasn't always the case, right? I think with a lot of the stories that are told on this podcast, there's, a crossroads moment, right? Where there's just a life that we're living where, we know we got to do something different. Let's take a maybe a rewind back and just talk through that. Like what did that look like for you in your life, that crossroads moment?
yeah, I mean, I've, you know, it's the sobriety and alcohol has been, you know, a big part of my journey, and you know, especially, you know, the past 5.5 years, you know, of being sober. And yeah, I mean, gosh, I mean, the everyone's journey, you know, and relationship with alcohol is different. And so, you know, for me, I never saw myself as having a problem with it. Like, I never felt like I never like really like blacked out. You know, there might have been one or two times that I still kind of remember what happened, but it was never like I didn't need to go to recovery. I didn't need to go to rehab. It I was able to, you know, function and get things done, you know, even though I had 7, 8, 9, 10 beers, you know, the night before. Sometimes that's multiple days in a row. Sometimes, you know, then I'll go a couple days without it. And then it was just this cycle that just kept going, you know, and it's just so deeply ingrained in our culture, and it's just a part of almost everything. I mean, it's
Sure.
like it's within family, it's events, it's going out to eat. I mean, it's celebrations. I mean, it's just it's everywhere. And so I got tired of being tired, and I mean, I've people say that who, have been drinking, and it's true. Yeah, just like I've really enjoyed like how I feel when I do fitness, and whether it's like high intensity interval training or if it's strength training or running or doing yoga or hot yoga. I mean, it's the adrenaline that comes up, the endorphins and such from you get that high, and so I appreciated like that natural high and just wanting to feel my best, and so alcohol was going to take that away each and every time. It
Mm.
was like two steps forward in my fitness and then three steps back with alcohol. And so I was just like tired of playing that game and I just didn't want to do it anymore. And so August 19th, 2020, I decided to commit publicly for a year to not drink. And then I had been, trying and failing for so many months and years. And like I knew like I had practiced, so that year was still hard. And the first few months were hard, but it was like once I got to like the 3 month mark, like I knew this was my life moving forward. And gosh, man, I mean it's very rare that I have moments where it's like I want to drink, and sometimes it'll flash that it's like I could do that, but like I've built so far into this that's like I know that going back to that, it's not going to give me anything. Like I can't, like it just will do nothing for me. And yeah, I mean, it's company in public, it's like I don't need the substance to be myself. If I'm having a hard day, it's just being with that hard day and breathing through it, and just know that it's like tomorrow's gonna be a new day. It'll be a fresh start, and yeah, and so yeah, it's been really good. So
Yeah, so I mean, with alcohol, do you think like how it was ingrained in your life was more of just because I relate to it a lot too. It's almost just like being a part of American culture is, hey,
yeah,
this is what we do.
yeah,
This is, hey, I mean, when I was in college, it was just a part like every weekend. It was just like, okay, going to a house party, going to the bars. And it's like you wouldn't even really think about it until, gosh, I remember one time I think I went about a year sober. Um, Probably, I think it was back when I was married, maybe like 6 or 7 years ago. But I remember I thought about it. I was like, this is the first time I've been like sober from alcohol since college, thinking about it, because
yeah,
it just was so culturally ingrained in me to where I didn't really see it as much of an issue just because it's just like, hey, this is what everyone's doing. It's almost like going with the flow of things.
yeah, yeah, totally.
Right. And it's not like for me, it wasn't like it was I was having fun. Probably made some stupid decisions that I'm lucky to be alive. But but it was one of those things where it's relatable to me to where it wasn't like it was something that started as like a vice or um like I was escaping something, but then as I got older, and I have a lot better of a relationship with it now, you start to see it as, okay, like, why do I need this? Like,
hmm
what is this doing for me? And I think
hmm
you start to think about that. Maybe it happens, I guess, for people at different stages of life.
yeah, yeah,
Sometimes it's a
totally.
rock bottom moment, but I think what you're sharing is just noticing your body and how you feel. And I think tying it into how you define personal freedom, right? Is
Yeah,
like just
yeah,
feeling like you can be anywhere and be calm and be regulated, which I think alcohol has that hangover effect, right?
yeah.
Which you describe pretty well.
Yeah, and I'll add to that some more context about like why I used it. And I mean
Yeah, sure.
yeah, I definitely struggled with depression. And so, and I think, through high school, through college, getting out of college, there's all these different stages of, like I've gone through like bully experiences, in middle school and high school, and the kind of groups and cliques and such through high
Sure.
school, and the judgments, and then you get out of, like, you go into college and you're trying to figure out what you're going to do with your life, and then actually trying to figure out how to make money, and there's all these things that are heavy things, and relationships too, and it yeah, I mean, you're not taught this throughout middle school or high school, of like how to be with difficult emotions, and I think for a lot of us that have been taught to just shrug it off and just move on, and like I stop crying, and and it's gonna be okay, and so, but it's never like, okay, how, like, what is it like to feel this way in your body? What are you noticing, like, in your
Mm,
body? And so we're not taught that, and so, like, you know being with our thoughts on a day-to-day basis, and not knowing that the thoughts that we continue to latch on and get hooked on when a situation happens or someone says or does something, that you're carrying that throughout the day, and it's causing depression, and so at the end of the day, you're just like so exhausted by, being with this, that, alcohol is just an easy way to escape those feelings and emotions. And so, yeah, that was definitely a big part of using alcohol as well, as like, I feel like my life is shitty right now in this moment, in this day, and so alcohol is just an easy way to kind of escape that, and numb it. And so, but yeah, it's like, yeah, it's like once you realize that, this cycle is not changing, and and then it's like, then you start to question, like, yeah, is this really serving me? And then it's like you realize, like, I read this great book by Annie Grace, called This Naked Mind, and she does a really beautiful job at changing, like, your subconscious, throughout it, and just giving you like so much knowledge and awareness around what alcohol is actually doing to your body, and so, and yeah, she's that was a big help in shifting my relationship. And so, yeah, and once you get that awareness, things are changed. So,
yeah,
yeah.
it's almost like there's because I think with alcohol, right, chemically it creates this dependence of you get like a craving, right? And it's
Hmm.
interesting when and I've talked about my struggle with porn on my other podcast,
Yeah.
Porn Free Millennial, but it's like when these emotions come up, when these tough things come up in our life, right? That we that are tough things to sit with. If we already have something built in that's like a mechanism to address it or solve it, I think it creates that natural that cue within our body to like crave the alcohol, or crave
Yeah.
whatever that is. But then once you start taking a different approach at it, like you're talking about, you become more aware of the craving and like where it's coming from.
Yeah.
And I
Yep.
think that's such an important thing that we can maybe talk about a bit is just the uh almost like building the skill or building the muscle memory of being able to actually sit with your emotions for a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, totally, totally. And yeah, I think that's why, like, meditation, has been such a big proponent of my life, is Yeah, I went through like my first relationship. It was a really tough like breakup and loss. I mean, it's like you invest so much time in that relationship and you try and make it work and it doesn't and so it's like you have to move on and in doing so, it's like that really kind of shakes up your world. And so that definitely shook my world up. And, I like had moved home and I was living with my parents and I was with them for like 2 or 3 months and just not really clear on where I was going to be, what I was going to do with my business and work. And so it was one day I just left and got in my Ford Escape and put my dirty laundry in the back trunk and just left with I think I left them a note, but it was like I didn't have any plans on where I was going. I just knew I just wanted to leave and I would figure it out. And it was fun at first. I was posting on social media where I was and doing incredible hikes and taking pictures and meeting interesting people and yeah, it was about like a weekend that I was in a laundromat in Tennessee, and a friend had texted me. Is like, dude, you've got like such an amazing life. I wish I was doing what you're doing. And I'm sitting there in the bathroom or the toilet looking at that text, and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, what is like, I'm in a laundromat in the middle of Tennessee. Like, I've
Living your
no
best life.
fucking clue. Yeah, yeah. It's like, yeah, exactly, right? Like selfie at this moment, like yeah.
That's hilarious.
Uh, dude, yeah, it was like it really hit me hard in that moment, and I had a
Sure.
severe panic attack, and got in my car and drove to a local park, and just was out in the middle of the field. Just felt like I was gonna die in that moment,
Mm,
and it was really terrifying. And yeah, it's a really scary feeling when you feel like you're gonna die um, and your body doesn't know what to do. And so I called my dad, and that was probably the longest conversation we've ever had. And came back home and found therapy. In fact, she introduced me to mindfulness and meditation, and yeah, and that like meditation was very hard um, because we don't really stop to think of how uncomfortable it is to just stop, and so it's if we stop and we're trying to sit in stillness, our bodies like naturally want to go to our phones, to listen to music, to find something to
sure.
grasp onto for comfort and stability. And so, sitting in stillness and quiet was hard at first, and it went from like 2 minutes to 5 minutes to 15 to 20. And so, it's varied throughout the years. I think there was one year that I did it 365 days in a row, which was awesome. And but yeah, it's just it's just ingrained in my life now, and it's what the ability to sit with difficult emotions like that is the practice that you can do with meditation. Is like if you sit with it, you can watch it and you can be with it and know that it's going to change, and just have that confidence in being like, I can get through this. I've gotten through it before. Sometimes it feels like it's new and it's not going to end. And like you're kind of in it and it's really hard, but like yeah, it's all about practicing. And it's like muscle building. I mean, it's like going to the gym or anything else. It's the more that you sit with it. Yeah, I mean the cravings, they just they almost, I mean, they're there as like a way of like attention. Like, hey, will you feed me? It's like it could be like sugar, yeah, porn. I mean, there's so many different things that's like what is your body and mind like reaching for to get comfort. And it's and it could be strong, really strong at times. It can be, yeah. So I mean, it's different each time, just based off of. I mean, it's based off of what's happening in the day, but then also it could just like there can be no reason of why it's really strong too. And so, um, but yeah, I think it's the more that you can be with, the more you can be with it, the more you can sit with it, that you're building this muscle that you can get through the cravings, and they'll eventually settle. They definitely settle. So yeah.
Was there like a specific type of meditation or specific type of technique that you learned or
Right now, like I've just recently started doing like transcendental meditation, and before that was more just like silent meditation. It wasn't like a very like specific. Like I started out with like guided meditation, like using Headspace, and so now I use Insight Timer. But like now I've been dabbling into transcendental, and the difference is like the meditation that I was practicing before was very like breath focused.
right, right,
Like,
right.
yeah, you would sit, close your eyes, or you can have your eyes open, and then you're just noticing the breath coming in and out. And then when you veer off and you're in thought land, and just kind of gently notice that you're thinking, and then come back to your breath, and just that constant back and forth. And the difference with transcendental is the focus on ease. Like you're given a mantra, and so you just say the mantra as much as needed, and you just really allow just naturally to transcend, and like to like come into that space that is pretty much like our baseline. Like you imagine an ocean, and the waves above are our thoughts, and so deep down below the ocean is complete stillness and tranquility and peace. And I'm sure everyone has felt that at some point, whether they have a meditation practice or not. You just feel like, wow, this feels really, really good. And so I think that's what's been nice about transcendental is just the ease of it. It's just really just sitting, not being so strategically focused on one thing. It's just allowing your body, your breath, your mind to just kind of naturally transcend, and it's been really good. So
When you first started to talk about that with your therapist, was it a little bit of like a shock to the system of just because I know for me that was a big part of therapy for me when I started to
mm,
go and yeah, I was really big into that. I've guilty. I haven't been as good as that lately. I think prayer's
yeah,
been that for me, but
yeah.
I was really big into Wim Hof breathing, which
Oh, cool.
I
Yep.
love Wim
Yep.
Hof. That's my goal. I got to meet him sometime. My brother and I
That'd
both.
be fun. Yeah.
But I mean, there was a time in my life where I was doing that like every day, and I'll still periodically will do that. Like if I'm sitting in the sauna at the gym after a workout, I'll just turn on. He's got a great. I'll put it in the show notes, but it's like a 15-minute guided breathing, and you're just going
Cool.
in, out, and I think that's how meditation started for me. Was just like you were saying, was connecting it to your breath, which it just makes total sense. Of
Hmm.
that's like the one thing in our life I think that we often like just totally take for granted, which is kind
Right.
of crazy
Yeah.
to think
Yeah.
about, but
Yeah.
really, right, is we're breathing, like we're alive. How can you tell if someone's alive? Okay, check their pulse, check if they're breathing, right? And but just to slow down, to be grateful for like the breath that you're taking in, the breath that you're giving out. Um, it can
Mm.
really transport you
Hmm.
no matter
Hmm.
where you're at. And but I remember though, like when I started to do it, it's almost like, oh, like what is this, woo woo crap? But it's literally just breathing. And it's so funny because just red-blooded American, just like, what is this, but it's literally just like,
Meditation. I don't have
I
time for
don't
that
need to
religion. Yeah.
meditate. Yeah. But when you think about it, it's like, dude, no, it's literally just being quiet and just listening, to your thoughts, breathing. I think that you talked about yoga. I mean, anybody that's knocking it, you got to try it at least once. The first time you try it, if you're knocking it, you'll get your butt kicked. I don't know, no matter how good in
100%.
shape you
Yeah.
are with yoga, if you've never done it before, it'll kick your butt. But that's really it. That locked in a lot for me was because I did yoga for about 7 years straight. Life on the road's been a little bit more difficult for that. It's a little bit tighter quarters in
Sure.
here
The,
for some of the moves.
the
Yeah, I'm like,
stretching out
yeah, I'm
like
like,
downward dog, you're hitting the top of the roof and
uh, but I just remember it was so neat doing yoga because you the instructors, they do such a good job of like bringing you back to your breath,
yeah.
being like, hey, Josh, you breathing right now? Like, hey, Mac, are you breathing right now? Like, you
Mm,
might be doing the
mm,
pose perfect, but like if you're not breathing, you're not doing it perfect. Like, and it's like connecting the mind, the body, the spirit together.
no.
And when did you start doing yoga?
Probably probably like 2014,
Okay.
I would say. So I can't remember like where my first class was. I've taken classes all over, and it's not like a regular practice because I've predominantly done like in the gym like strength training and such. But yeah, I mean it's like I think yoga is a really, really strong practice to have. Yeah, like you said, I mean it's really connecting the body and the mind and spirit, and yeah, and the breath is kind of that just center channel that connects all that. And so yeah.
So
Mm.
typically with meditation, like today, is that something that, and I know you were talking about not having things as regimented, but do you have
Mm.
it built in to where you do it like in the morning or at night, or is it just whenever you feel like it's necessary? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, yeah, totally. I definitely do better with structure in regards to like my health and wellness. And so like sleep is, I mean, it's kind of veered off by a few hours, but it's like for the longest time now, for a few years, it's been 8 p.m. to like 4 a.m. has been my structure of pretty much just naturally getting tired and naturally waking up too. And so it's the first thing I do when I get up. Like I'll make some tea and I can pretty much time like when I can start drinking the tea is about 15 minutes that it gets cool. And so I'll like meditate, before having my tea and yeah, 15 or 20 minutes. And it's pretty much like that's how my day starts. Like I just start with meditation and there's definitely been times where I'm on a job, I'm, outside of my normal routine and structure. And so even just getting like 5 minutes or 10 minutes, or even days that I miss it, it's okay. And um, yeah, it's one of those things where I really like this example that they give in transcendental meditation is like you think of like tie-dyeing a t-shirt, and you roll it up and you dip it in the color and you pull it out and you can see the color like on it, but then it drips away and it's like a faint color. But then you keep dipping it, and the color gets stronger and more vibrant. And so you miss a day. Same with fitness. You're not going to be totally derailed. You can jump right back into it. And yeah, and so I've been trying to. They suggest doing it twice for 20 minutes a day. And so I had a good regimen before my recent trip of doing it 2 times a day because typically I would just do it once. But I think there's benefit of doing it at the front of the day and at the end of the day too. So yeah.
And talking about just like getting into your that first year of sobriety for you? Like what really helped you out with that? So I know you said it was tough, which I can imagine that, but like what made it so that you could get through that successfully?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different factors. I mean, my partner at the time, she was sober, so that was definitely a big key. Um, Athletic brewing company, like having that kind of fail safe of like if I want to taste beer, if I want something that's cold like a beer, that I could drink those. It didn't stay very long of like needing those or wanting those.
Those are alcohol
Um,
free beers.
yeah, they're alcohol free. And they've got different flavors and such. I mean, there's a lot of different companies that have popped up. I think
Right.
Barrow is one. There's just been a lot more that's come out, in the past 5 years, and so yeah, utilizing those, but I think too of just yeah, just being with the discomfort, and just like being with it, as much as possible, and then like how can I put my attention towards something else? And so it's fitness, walking, um, yeah, work. I mean, yeah, just kind of like shifting the focus where it's needed. But yeah,
And then when you were, started this journey into being, sober and being
yeah.
public with that, did you have support? Like were you working with a therapist at the time, or were there other people in your life that were, besides I think you said your partner, but was there other people in your life that were helpful?
Yeah, I mean yeah, definitely therapy. I didn't do the recovery route, but I did do smart recovery for a few months, and I can't remember if it was before the year commitment that I made, or if it was during. It could have potentially been during. But so there was, some support there.
What is smart recovery?
Smart recovery is it's like AA, but it's I guess more science driven and such, and so and there are other recovery groups. There's one that I facilitate for now, Recovery Dharma, and they use more of like a Buddhist inspired approach to recovery, where you do the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path, and really be wise speech, wise actions, and I really appreciate like their approach to recovery, and so um yeah, and there's AA too, and I didn't go down the path of AA, but it's like the 12 steps and such, has helped quite a bit of people, and so yeah, I think that there's a lot of different tools and outlets of what people can use in regards to their recovery and such. So yeah.
Yeah, so you went, you think you said after, what was the hardest part about the first 90 days for you? Because I know that like that's kind of a marker that I mean I've talked about it before with my own sobriety. I think a lot of
Hmm.
people talk about it's like that 3 month mark.
Yeah, I
It's like
think
a big thing, in your brain.
yeah, yeah. There's definitely deep science that's been studied that I can't really quote, around it specifically, but yeah, I mean, you look across the board on so many different areas that 90 days is out there. And so for me, since I had almost been practicing before I started, that it wasn't as difficult as if like I hadn't been doing that. And so it was almost like because before I did the year, I was like tracking daily for like 2 years.
Sure.
And so there was a lot of weeks where it was like maybe one or two per week. And so I had gotten to the rhythm to where it was like pretty much it was out of my life, not completely, but you know, what in comparison to what it was. And so yeah, so I mean it's really hard to gauge like what like within that 90 days like what was really hard given that I had already started, you know,
Yeah,
before
sure.
that year. So, but if I were to go back, you know, in the 2 years of tracking, man, it's just like it was just that rhythm of like you wake up in the day and I'm not going to drink tonight. And you have that set and you're like so determined at the beginning of the day. And then whatever happens, client doesn't pay, argument, and then 5 o'clock rolls around, and you're like, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna have a drink," and it's you're breaking the trust with yourself, and so I
Mm,
think that was like a big part of what was so challenging is learning to, yeah, to not break that trust, to say like, "Hey, I'm going to keep my word around this," and it's hard. Yeah, it's hard because it's like then you're dealing with something that you haven't dealt with before in feeling those cravings that you know are peaking at a level you're like, ah, this I don't really like this feeling at all. And so but yeah, and you're faced with having to, because I mean I smoked too, probably for over 15 years. And so that was what I quit before drinking.
yeah.
And that was hard. That was hard too. I mean, it's, yeah, it just, you just have that pull. And so it's like being without pull to the longer that you are with it, the less strength that it has on you. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's an important point too that you were talking about as you started to build up that resilience, I think, before making up your mind about it. I think that's happened with me before where I'm just like, all right, I'm quitting. And I don't really have a plan, or I don't really have much of a strategy, or maybe I'm not taking into account as much of, hey, like what did I learn from the last time I relapsed with something, or and then I think sometimes it can be really demoralizing, right? Where you have this commitment, and I love the way you put it. You're making kind of a pact with yourself. You're making a promise to yourself, and then when you break it, you start to trust yourself a little less. But on the other hand, when you keep your promise, then it's like, oh, hey, I was able to do it. Whereas maybe last year I didn't, but now I'm building this new identity. But I think that happens a lot in sobriety, unfortunately, is where, and I lived through it too, where you're just like, well, I tried, it just didn't work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But then the question is, well, what did you do? Like, what was your strategy? And I think
Mm-hmm.
typically, right, it's, well, I was just kind of white knuckling it. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's how I
Mm-hmm.
felt for about 20 years with my struggle was, yeah, I tried to quit, and I would for a little bit, but I didn't really get to the root of it. And I think the root of it oftentimes, at least I've found a lot, is it's emotional stuff. It's deep down in us.
Yeah.
It's not just like, oh yeah, I like to get drunk. Where it's like, yeah, it's a part of it. Like it could be an enjoyable thing, or it can make you feel a certain way. But like why, like what's the why behind it? Like why are you going there?
Yeah, yeah,
And it's hard
totally.
to see that right away. I think what you're talking about is we build up so much of this, uh almost like you dig so much dirt up on this thing, with escaping emotions, with neglecting them, to where it can be hard when you're in the moment to really realize, like, I need to like actually sit and process this stuff, because the
Hmm.
cycle itself in a way is a numbing cycle, to where we're numbing whatever that emotion is or whatever that hurt is, whatever that thing deep
Hmm.
down inside of us that's drawing us to this substance or whatever the addictive habit is.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
being
and
honest about that.
I would say too, it's like, and I'm curious on your thoughts around this.
Yeah.
Like, if I feel like everything we struggle with internally is from some external source,
Hmm.
whether it's an experience that we had, whether it's a conversation, that we had with someone, whether it's we're thinking about what will happen in our future, what has happened in our past. It's like there's always a thought that leads to shifting how we feel inside emotionally. And so, but there's always this thought that is something outside of me that is then altering how I feel internally. And so, I mean, yeah, I mean, yeah, just curious on like what do you think of that? So,
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, it's I recently watched the movie Inception again,
mm,
which I love that movie. It's such a you probably can respect that movie just with your background
sure,
of
yeah.
just an amazing movie. But something that just on the because I haven't seen it for a while, but it's just like a thought gets planted, in the head. Like that's kind of the whole part of the movie, right? Is they're trying to plant a thought in somebody's head. And it is like that I realized in my life was like I just had these thoughts planted in my head that were external things that weren't quite true, that like lies that we believe
Mm,
about ourselves.
mm,
I think
mm,
one that comes up a lot is like, if somebody knew, what I do in the shadows or what I do in private, or the drinks that I had and the state I was in, they wouldn't love me or they wouldn't
mm,
understand me. Or I think for me a lot of the times too is just attaching like my value to the way I was treating myself, and that
mm,
I don't have
mm,
value. I think
mm,
that was a big
mm,
one for me. So yeah, I think they're external things. I think for me in therapy, it was like childhood stuff that came up,
mm,
right? Of just internalized thoughts of just not feeling confident, not feeling valued. I think that was a big one for me. But yeah, I think the big thing that was a big shift for me was realizing that I have autonomy in this very moment to let this craving pass. Like I don't have to feed
mm,
it. And I think what you're talking about really resonated, where I think we think so much about like the future or the past, but like what are we missing? Like we're missing like the gift of the present of,
mm,
well, what am I doing now? And what can I, cuz I think we lose that a little bit sometimes, right? Is what I do today, what I do in this moment, that can change trajectory. You're never too far gone. For anyone listening that's struggling with alcohol or something else, right? You're never too far gone. You can always, and it doesn't mean it's like an easy thing. It's an easy road, but you have value, and you can make a decision today that can start something new, something great. And I think that sometimes what thinking about the past too much or thinking about the future too much, it can kind of cloud our vision. And then I think what you talked about too, of feeling that moment where you just feel like you're gonna die. Like I felt that moment too, where you just feel like it's just too much. Like I'm too lost. Life is just too chaotic. I'm never gonna figure this out.
mm,
Um, and I think when we think too much about that, about the future, it can really, I think, cloud our judgment and cloud our ability to understand that, hey, let me sit with this for a second, and I can figure this out, and I will. It might not be today, but if I can just sit with this, and if I can absorb it and understand it, that will help give me clarity for what to do
yeah,
next.
I love all that. Yeah, it's so good.
But that's what
Yeah.
the sober. That's what I love about your stuff, man, and about your story is
Mm,
uh and just culturally, right? I think like maybe a little bit of a soapbox, but I just think culturally we're kind of drunk off of entertainment and amusement and distractions. Um, any kind of commercial you see, any kind of a lot of things on social media, they're all like pulling our attention away. And
Yeah.
I felt those, and I think as a creator sometimes it can be overwhelming to where I just want to create stuff all the time. And taking those moments and having this conversation today is helpful for me, just to be like, hey, take a moment just to be quiet, be still. And
Mm,
what a gift that is.
mm,
I don't think I've ever regretted laying down and just close. Like the other day, I just laid down on the grass with my dogs, and I closed my eyes, and one of the best feelings in the world is just having the sun kind of just go on your eyelids.
mm,
I used to do
mm,
that as a kid all the time at my parents' house. Is I think it was the family room, or the living room. There was like they had this like wood floor, and there was a spot where the sun would shine. And like every
mm,
Saturday
mm.
morning, I would just like lay. And this is before it became like sun maxing, or there's a whole
Mhm.
industry behind it. But I used to just lay there as a kid for like 10 minutes, and I would just sit there like in quiet. It was like my Zen time.
I love that.
And I sometimes, and I'm, doing the RV life and stuff. So I think I get a lot of that naturally just being outside.
Mhm.
But there are some
Mhm.
times where I'm like, I had a moment, it was like when I was out in the mountains like a few weeks ago, and my phone died, and I was out fishing, and I just felt so like I felt like I got like released, and I was oh,
Mm,
like
mm,
this is great. There was a
mm,
minute of me feeling a
mm.
little bit like, worried or anxious of like, well, what if this? What if that? What if
Yeah,
this? And it's like, dude, you can't control any of that. Just be in the
yeah,
moment, experience
yeah.
like what God's created, and just marvel at it, at the beauty of it. And
Mhm.
I think those
Mhm.
moments, man, those are moments that I think we all need a little bit more of in our life, you know?
100%. Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. And that's why like I struggle, as a business owner, it's like you need to be on all these platforms and be
Right.
producing this content and such. And it's like I really only spend time on Substack. It's like I've got the Instagram, Facebook accounts and all that, but it's like it's so exhausting to like try and do that. But I mean, even outside of the business, it's like I just I've got like I've had these phones, and getting the new version and all that.
Right,
And there
right,
was
right.
one point where I was like, I have to have the latest and greatest, and it's like I really don't even like I don't want it. And it's so like I feel like this is my perception. I believe that, it's like technology is getting to this place where, with AI and just the capabilities to do so much, but yet at the same time, it's like, I mean, you look at the way that the algorithms, whether it's Instagram or TikTok, and it feeds addiction, in a
Mm,
different way of like, like people's attention span to be able to stay with something like in a conversation, to be like, just be like, like I don't even think 5 or 10 seconds goes by. You're starting to tell something or a story or whatever, and it's like someone's lost off into like, oh, I need to check my text, I need to check my email, and it's like, fuck, these fucking things are like, it's exhausting. Like, and you just like, and you get to this point where it's like you crave human connection.
yeah.
Like I feel like we're starting to go into that direction, and I think too, the more that we see that AI is going to like take certain jobs away to create more time, that's like, oh, I want to escape this phone and this device that is just keeping me locked in it. And yeah, and I mean, it's like, yeah, I I like to believe that we're gonna move back into a phase like Ryan Lebeck is coming out with this book called Return to Real, and I love that saying. I'm not sure when his book is going to come out, but I've been on his newsletter and seeing him like work on it and such, and I just love like I love that. I love those words, you know, it's like real experiences, real connection. You know, it's even with dating, it's like fuck, swipe, 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 swipe. And it's like how do we get back to meeting people in person and yeah, step away from these devices that have us so hooked. Mm,
Yeah. Well, I was kind of thinking it kind of made me laugh inside with like it's almost because as a creator, if you want to get views, you got to have some kind of hook like, to get someone's
mm.
attention, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, the thumbnail.
And it's almost like you have to do that now with conversations sometimes is if you don't hook them within like 5 seconds, they're like, yeah, okay, I'm immediately not interested. Like you have to like Josh, hey, I got something to tell you. And you're like, I'm
Okay,
kind of
okay.
terrified, but you have my
I'm
attention.
freaked out. I gotta go now. You've put me back into my cave.
Yeah. But I think sometimes I think about that ethically, right? Because I think, my other podcast, helps people that struggle with addiction. And
Yeah.
that's the last thing I ever want to do is be addictive myself with my content of like, because some of it sometimes is like you have some creators or people that help people build, which luckily I think the people that we've worked with have been great people, very wholesome.
Yeah.
But you have
Yeah.
some of that to where it's almost like how do you get your audience addicted so that they watch your stuff all the time? And I'm kind of like, no, I don't want that. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's almost like you can get addicted to like self-help. You can get addicted to fitness. I mean, you can get addicted to really good things too, and I've been there before too where gosh, like I used to be in like really great shape, working to get back to it, but it's almost like that took a lot of time away from things too, to where I was almost too focused on, bettering myself to where I
Mm.
was
Mm.
not as, uh, I would say like not as present in my marriage that I was in, or, maybe
Mm-hmm.
not as good of a friend that I could have been. And it's all
Mm-hmm.
about finding, I think, that balance, right? Or maybe it's not even a balance, it's just the cohesion, the integration. I think my therapist once said is he's like, it's not really a balance, it's more of integrating,
Mm.
things in
Mm.
your life. But I'm right there with you. I
Yeah.
think, um, I was just kind of thinking about this too. Just, I like watching sports. Like I'm not super watching them all the time, but
Mm-hmm.
it's so hard. I get so annoyed. Like I might like if you're watching like the NBA finals or something that just happened, like it's
Mm-hmm.
all over the screen is like DraftKings, like make your bet. Hey, here's like Charles Barkley's bets or here's Shaq's bets, and I'm just like, I just want to watch the game. Like, and I feel
Mm.
like even with sports, with gambling, it's just corrupted it so much to where now if you go on social media and it was a close game and your team lost, then you're like, oh well, the refs had to have rigged the game or Vegas, and maybe they did. I don't know, but
It doesn't become about the game anymore.
yeah, it doesn't become about the
Yeah.
game. And then of course, every other commercial. I was watching the UFC with my dad like a month ago, which we try to do whenever I'm in town. And
Mm.
it's like every commercial, it's like alcohol, gambling, and then hey, here's a drug that you can take to cure this, and it's like this rotation. And I think like when you're in that recovery state or you're in this sober state, so to speak, you just see it. And I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, I think it's called They Live, or um it's the movie where the guy puts on the sunglasses and he sees like obey and like all these marketing signs.
Oh, I haven't seen that. Yeah.
There's a really famous
Mm.
line where
Mm.
he's like in a bank and he's like, I'm here to chew bubble gum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubble gum. um I'll have to send it to you. It's a really
Yeah,
good
please
movie.
do.
But basically there's these like glasses that kind of like I'd say the people that want society to be more real, they like
Mm.
develop these
Mm.
sunglasses to where when you put the sunglasses on, you can see like all of the subtle or what's really behind like the marketing, or like, and there's like
Oh,
this kind of these mutant creatures that are kind of controlling society.
okay.
So I think it's kind of a play on like ultra capitalism, that kind of thing. But it's a
Yeah,
really good movie. But
that's
he puts
cool.
these sunglasses on and he's like on Times Square, and like every sign is like obey, like buy this, yeah, this
Oh,
this.
wow. Yeah,
And I feel like
yeah.
sometimes that's how it feels like once you're on the other side of an addiction or whatnot, you can just tell like right away. It's almost like you have this sixth sense, or you're just so much more aware of things or sensitive. Like I know for me with the porn stuff, like I just noted, like if I'm checking out at the grocery store and there's like some magazine that's just, very sexual, like I can just like notice it right away of just like this is trying
Mm-hmm.
to draw my attention in, like using somebody's
Mm-hmm.
body. And
Mm-hmm.
you could be like watching a commercial about like chocolate and it's all sensual and you're just like, what is going on here? Like this is crazy.
The
But
way
it,
the chocolate's melting
I
and like
know, and it's just
pouring
like
into this
I
beautiful circle.
I
Yeah.
know, it's just like, what the heck is going on here? But
Mm,
because I think sometimes people use the word mind control, and I used to think of that as like, oh,
mm.
that's just like tinfoil hat stuff. But when you think about it, it is a good form of mind control, I think, when it comes to the
Yeah.
algorithms, when it comes to what we're fed, basically
Strategic.
what our
Yeah.
brains are fed every day. And
Mm-hmm.
what I love about what you're talking about is like you're choosing to feed your brain, um I would say, things that are wholesome and things that are not even like you have an agenda. Like you're just looking at, hey, what's the paper look like today for my brain? Like
Mm,
what's going on
mm-hmm.
here? What's the forecast
Mm-hmm.
look like?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And how important is that? Because I even struggle with it too. This is me calling myself out, but I still struggle with. I get up and pretty much the first thing I'm doing is like looking at my phone when I wake up.
Sure.
And I just need
Yeah.
to break out of that because it's been the kind of a nasty habit for a bit. And I know that the times in my life where I wasn't,
Mm-hmm.
those were times where my day was just set up so much better because I didn't
Mm-hmm.
have anything external, like you said, pushing on me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, is the world going to end today? Or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. It's just more of like, hey, like what am I thinking like right now? Natural state, waking up, what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
and then go from there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a
Yeah.
great way to start
Yeah.
the day.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely. Yeah. It's definitely. I agree. Like I definitely. Yeah. I feel my best when I'm able to do that. And there's definitely times that
Yeah.
I'm checking the phone and checking Substack and stuff like that. And so, but it's. Yeah. I mean, it's like having that intentional, like the intentional practices like around when you get up, to kind of naturally let your body come into the day. And like I love lighting incense, so I light incense, my tea. And I've just like, I've just made my space, it's being a creative, having been on a big trip, sometimes the place looks chaotic here in my living space, and but then if I take the time to like clean up and put things away, it's like I can feel the difference in my body and my mind, like when I'm in this space that is, yeah, it's just clear. Yeah, it's clear, and to it, it's like you look at how much of a difference that your day moves in that feeling in that space, and how you connect with others, and so it's that's why like I come back to that like personal freedom, is it's like having the heart open, like being like trying like it is kind of like wooey with like the heart open, heart closed type thing of like I don't know how to feel that shit. And like I really don't like from a physical standpoint, it's like not like you're feeling this open, but it's like okay, if I know that's like I'm sitting there wherever I'm at and feeling a little depressed, feeling a little bit sad, like thinking about something that is causing that stress, finances, whatever it might be, that is fear, and it means my heart's closed, and I'm like, I'm closed off to myself, I'm closed off to the world. Like, I typically probably don't want to clean up, I don't want to do work, whatever it might be. It's like, so I can like kind of notice that I'm in that space. And so then it's like, okay, well, I'm connected. We're having this conversation here. Whatever happened earlier, like I shared my story on Substack around my recent trip. Um, it's like all these things, like I feel different. I feel more open and free and light. And so it's like, okay, now I feel like, okay, my heart is open in this moment. And so it's like, how do I like what can I do to live in that space as much as possible? And that's that personal freedom that is just what I want to strive towards being in as much as possible. Yeah.
I love that. Well
Mm.
said. Well
Thanks,
said.
man. Thanks,
And
dude.
I'll put that I'll put that link up to your most recent because you went down south for your
I went south. Yeah. I went
you want to tell the
south, but
audience
very like
where you
high in
went?
the south.
You want to talk
What's
about
that?
that just real quick for the audience where you went?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. It's yeah, this a couple weeks ago I did a trip with a company called Capsule Adventures. Ryan Lee's the owner, and it's sober adventure based travel. And so the specific trip was going to Machu Picchu and doing a hike to Machu Picchu. And so it's called the Salcantay. You can do either the Inca Trail or the Salcantay hike in order to get to Machu Picchu, and it's a 5 day trek, 4 nights. And man, I didn't account for like how much my body needed to adjust to the altitude adjustment, but like when you get into Cusco, it's over 12,000 feet of elevation.
I'm
And
serious.
have you had that where you've been in elevation and like you feel the oxygen levels, it's like super thick air and your heart rate is going up, and it was terrifying. Like I was shaking, like having breakfast with him, thinking like, oh, I'm gonna have to get back on this plane and go home. And they had oxygen tanks and such, and so it's your body is just acclimating to the environment, and so but it still feels very uncomfortable, and so it was definitely a great like sobriety story of like, okay, well, I'm here with these feelings and the fear that's coming up from them, and having to be with that, in a hotel by myself, and just trust that what's being told to me and the people I'm around, this is a part of the experience. And yeah, it was really, really hard. I've not done a hike that was that physically demanding. The day two was, yeah, over 15,000 feet.
Ooh,
I
I
mean, it
love.
was total the 5 days was 50, 60 miles of walking. And so it was good. It was a good
That's some serious
trek.
stuff. Because
There was,
you're down in North Carolina, right?
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, so you're because I'm in Colorado, so I'm a little bit acclimated,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
like
totally. Yeah,
that's
yeah.
still because whenever I go elk hunting with my dad, we typically hunt around like 9 to 10,000 feet,
Mm-hmm.
and that's still for me. It's still like okay, be prepared to lose your breath, be prepared to take breaks. But I can
Yeah,
only
yeah,
imagine, coming from a place like North Carolina where you're I mean probably just above sea level
yeah,
a little
yeah.
bit, and then doing
It's like
that. I mean,
300.
that's a big deal. That's a big
Yeah,
accomplishment.
yeah, dude. It was. Thank you. Thank you. I've been fortunate to go on a number of different retreats. I've been on a yoga retreat and a mindfulness one, and this one was, yeah, hiking and adventure based, and it was really, really cool. Really, I mean, the company Alpaca Expeditions is the one that Ryan works with, and they did an incredible job. I mean, the company is. over 70,000 5-star reviews on Google. So you
Wow.
know that they're doing it right. Yeah, it's pretty
That's
really
cool.
impressive.
We'll put that
So
in the show notes too if anyone
yeah,
wants to do that. Get your
I know,
hiking in
right?
beforehand.
I highly recommend it. It's an incredible life experience that, it's like you could go to Machu Picchu and do a
Right.
shorter hike and take the bus and such, but like, and two, it's like if you end up going to Machu Picchu, I highly, highly recommend um, just taking your time. It feels like Disneyland when you get in there and there's so many people and you can move through things very quickly. Um, but take your pictures and then just like really just take in the energy, and like God is there all around you, man. It's like just incredible depths of what that experience is and the thousands of years that
Right.
multiple civilizations like have put together to create this beautiful landmark. And yeah, it's really, really special. So it was really cool.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I'll put that in the notes so people can check that out.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, man.
yeah, I think kind of just closing things out.
Yeah.
So what does the personal freedom journey look like for you moving forward? Like, what do you got your eyes set on moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think like I think the what I would like to do is based off of this recent trip, it's like I really love traveling. And so what I would love to incorporate is each year, whether it's once or twice, of living in a different country remotely for a month or two at a time and like really getting to just experience that place from a much longer perspective versus, going for like 7 or 10 days. And so building the business to be able to do that and also, incorporate like I've never had my own project. And so I do have an idea and concept around what I want that to be. And what I want to do is produce this mini doc series through the Sober Creative and my filmmaking background experience. And, um, I feel like the conversations that I've had 56 now on the podcast. And so I could almost look at them as like pre interviews. And
Sure.
so I want to reach out to pretty much everyone and pitch this idea. And I've got the treatment almost put together and see if they want their story told. And so I think the long term goal would be to continue to build this out, produce these stories, build an audience around people, yeah, I mean, supporting my work and, having maybe a community around the documentary and showing like behind the scenes stuff. I'm not exactly sure what the specifics around that look like, but yeah, I mean, having the documentary series just be more of a way that we can just get this lifestyle out and show what people have been able to do with their life outside of alcohol. And yeah, it's really, really cool to be like, wow, I have something that I could call mine, to produce this work. Because a lot of my background has been producing work for other companies and projects and such, which I've absolutely loved.
Right.
But I just not, people have asked like, why haven't you produced a movie or like a short film or stuff like that? It's like I just haven't really had the ideas like around that or desire like of, and so now that I have this idea around this doc series, I think it could be really powerful and impactful, and so that's the personal freedom route that I want to take. So,
Ah, love it.
yeah,
Everyone,
brother.
everyone keep your eyes peeled for Josh Wall. I love it.
That's right.
I think it's great. I'm pitching it
Thanks,
in my
man.
mind right now. Where I'm manifesting it with you.
Yeah, thanks, dude. Yeah, man. Yeah. I could see too of whenever we meet and have that have the summit when that happens,
Yes,
that
yeah,
you could
the
see a,
uncommons.
a video playing there for that. So
Yeah, that'd be cool. That's
yeah.
cool. I love that. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, and I just for anyone listening right now, right, that might be at that crossroads, or maybe they're in that season of life where it just feels like there's that cycle going on. What words do you got for them?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, that there's so much like support out there, for someone specifically, is questioning their relationship with alcohol. And there's so many books and so many programs and so many helpful things, and what I do specifically is, based off of my experience. It's like I help people. Like, that's what my passion is now, is being able to sit with someone through the 90-day program that I offer and pretty much guide them along the way, because it's like you can white knuckle it, you can use these resources, you can keep falling and trying and slipping, but it's like having someone that you can text whenever, you can sit on a call with, and that person just like holds space and reflects back to you what you can't see and what you can't know for yourself in order to really make the positive impact and changes that you want to see. I think is really impactful towards shifting that relationship. And so, yeah, um, just invite those really just to have a conversation with me, because I put my calendar link on all my posts, and it's a free conversation, really, just to talk about where you're at, and what's the potential moving forward. So, yeah.
Yeah, we'll get that in the notes too. Reach out to
Cheers, dude.
Josh. He's good people. And but hey, I really appreciate you being on, and that was just a great conversation. And
Yeah, thanks, Mac. You too, man. You're such a good human, and I'm glad that we have this connection. And yeah, I appreciate it, man. The work that you're doing is so important. It's like we share. It's like different, slightly different, but at the same time, it's the same thing. It's like how do we be of service to others? So I feel like that's our highest calling. Um,
serving others, and I think sharing a light, being a light, seeing
yeah,
the light in other
yeah,
people.
yeah. I love that. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just holding the flame up, And
Mm,
but yeah, with everybody, or with everything being said, I just appreciate you being on, and thanks
mm,
everyone for listening. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for being on
yeah.
the Personal Freedom Podcast.
Thanks, everyone.